Hi everybody, Mrs. Gifford here. So today we're going to look at angle measures. And so after today's lesson, you should be able to both measure and measure and classify angles. So first thing, a bunch of vocabulary. So make sure you put these in your vocab section. The first one to talk about is a ray. It's a part of a line that has one endpoint and extends indefinitely in one direction. So it's kind of the difference between, or a combination of a line segment and a line. So if you look here to the left, the ray starts at point M, and you can call it any of these things that you see here, MP, ray MP, and you want to put the little ray above or the little arrow above it. That helps distinguishes between a ray and a line segment. Secondly, we have opposite rays. And it's just the point is two rays that share an endpoint. In this case, J would be the endpoint that they have in common, and ray JH and ray JK are considered opposite rays. Secondly, or third, we're going to talk about angles. We have two, it shouldn't say two nonlinear, it should say two, well, they have to be non-parallel. If they're parallel, sorry about that. If they're parallel, then they're never going to touch and form at a point. So an angle is formed by two rays, and notice they form in this point, which gets me to the last term on here. This is the vertex. The vertex is the point of where these two sides meet, and the sides of an angle are the two rays that make that point up. And notice they are also labeled with the little arrow part to distinguish that they are a ray. And we call this the vertex, vertex X in this case. So a few more vocabulary terms. First of all, if we take a look at a plane here, down here at the bottom, we have this parallelogram. And this angle, angle PMN, divides this plane into two sections. And we see, oops, apparently I didn't proof this as well as I wanted. That should be a P. P, M, and N are on the angle. And we say that points S and R are interior. Here's S and R. They are interior to that angle. They're on the inside. And then points P and O are on the exterior of that angle. So let's get looking at some examples. So first of all, we have this diagram, and the first question is, what is the vertex of angle 5? So angle 5 is right here in the middle of the diagram, and angle 5 is comprised of these two rays. And what vertex do you see there? It's angle C. So the vertex of that angle is angle C. The next one is we need to name the sides of angle 5. Well, that's the angle that I just drew in red. So what sides make it up? So you can say that we have sides AC, or we have sides CJ. You could even use CG and CB as well, as long as they include that vertex of C. Letter C, write another name for angle ECL. So if we look at the diagram, we have angle ECL. Okay, and there's a couple of different ways that we can write this name. First of all, we see that there's an angle 4 here, so we could call it angle 4. Or if you take a look at it, we see another letter in there. We could label this angle ECK, and that's because point K is between C and L. And then the last question, or the last thing to do, is to name a point on the exterior of CLH. Remember, exterior means outside. So as we look at this diagram and we look for angle CLH, let me grab a different color, CLH. Here is angle CLH. I'm going to do it in blue. Here's that angle. And as we look, we want the points that are on the exterior of that angle, and there are two. We have angle E and angle D. Okay, so let's move on. So there are two tools that we typically use to measure angles. This first one is an angle ruler, and that's more than likely the one that you're going to use in math class. The second one is a protractor, and there's two things that I want to point out to you about both the protractor and a few things I should say about the protractor and the angle ruler. First of all, it's important to place the center point of the protractor on the vertex. On most protractors, this point right here is actually open, so you could use your pencil to help you line that up. In the angle ruler, it's this point right here. It's called a grommet. That's where the angle rulers hinge. Okay, and on the protractor, there are two scales, and it depends on what direction you start from as to which angle measure you use. So if I was going to start from the right-hand side over here and measure this angle of FED, I would use the inside track. If I needed to, if that angle went all the way further and actually I wanted to use this line over here, which isn't a part of an angle, I would keep using that internal track. So it totally depends on where you start from. If I had an angle that started on this side that was over here, then I would use the outside track of the degrees. Okay. The other thing is there should be a solid black line on your protractor. Get that to sit right on one of the sides of the angle. And then you extend the line until you can get to the angle measure. The angle rulers work very similarly. This line right here on the angle ruler is where you would sitting on one of the lines of the angle, and then you're just going to adjust the angle ruler to measure the angle. All right, so let's talk a little bit about classifying, and then I've got some examples here. So as you probably already know, we classify angles in three categories. One is a right angle. That's if it equals 90, an acute angle is less than 90, and obtuse is bigger than 90 degrees. So what we're going to do, the last 4 questions of this lesson, are to just take a look and use this protractor, which I've already set down. Notice the middle of it is sitting right on angle F. Oh no, I just moved it. Oh. All right, so it's sitting right on angle F, and so from here we're going to do some measuring. We have angle AFB, so we follow the lines of AFB. Oh, I'm nervous to write on top because I don't want to move it. Let's try this. Oh, that is not going to work. All right, so let's just follow the lines. And I see that angle B is all the way up here. Boy, I don't know how to do it without moving it, so we're just going to have to talk about it. So angle B, if you extend that line all the way, and you ask yourself, is it a 160-degree angle or is it a 20-degree angle? In this case, AFB is acute, so we know that it's going to be, sorry about that, it's an acute angle. So we want the 20-degree measure. Okay, so the next one is angle CFA. Angle CFA, again, as you look closely, C goes straight down to the F and then it goes straight over. So we know that that angle is a right angle and all measures, or all right angles, equal 90 degrees. Then we have AFD. Okay, and if you extend that line from FD all the way up to the degrees, it's either going to be a 65-degree angle or it's 115. And what type of angle is it? Well, it's obtuse. So knowing that obtuse angles are bigger than 90 degrees, what does that tell us? That tells us that that angle is a 115-degree measure. And then the last angle to check is CFD. And if you look at it, the ray CF is pointing at 90 degrees, and ray FD is pointing at 115. So then you ask yourself, what is it to go from 90 to 115? And it's 25 degrees. Because it's 25 degrees, we know that is acute. So there you have it, folks, a brief lesson on measuring angles. Like I said, in your class, you'll either have angle rulers or protractors, but either way, they both work exactly the same. Have a good day.